Dr. John Ashton, good morning to you. It's great to have you with us at the breakfast show.
Oh, yes. Good morning.
Fantastic. Dr. John, when you mentioned that you wanted to talk about that documentary Expelled, I got really excited because this has been a documentary that I watched many, many years ago. I would say I think I watched it in 2012. Around about that time.
Yep,
So
that'd be right.
and it really opened up my mind to a lot of the things that happen in academia when it comes to people defending intelligent design. But can you tell us a little bit first about what is that documentary about? Just give us some basic information so that everybody can know what we're talking about.
Okay, yeah. So, Expelled was No Intelligence Allowed was a movie made by a comedian, Ben Stein, and essentially he took a serious look at what was happening in academia, in the universities, at people who were talking about the possibility that our origins were a result of intelligent design. So if we go back a little bit further, back in, I think it was 2006, the Discovery Institute, which is a think tank institute based in Seattle, which is featured in the film, and they interviewed some of the staff from the Discovery Institute. This was a group of scientists that were saying, well, hang on, we've got overwhelming evidence that biological systems, in particular the cells in our body, must have been intelligently designed because they're so complex. Now, the argument here is, how do you establish that something is intelligently designed? And so, if you came across, well, I was prospecting one time and I dug up in an old goldfield a little dinky toy Holden panel van car. So you wouldn't think, well, okay, this had just formed there. You knew that it had been made, right? And it's intuition because it's so complex, the design. It's not something that nature would form. And the same when we find archaeologists up these rocks and they say, oh, this is an arrowhead. We assume that the rock has been shaped. It's been designed. It hasn't actually formed that way. So what they essentially are arguing is that when we now, because we've discovered so much about the biochemistry and the structures that are involved in just a very, very tiny cell that we can sort of hardly see with a microscope, that these the complexity is enormous, and it involves machines, so that there are parts, there are control systems, there are logic systems, and so this research was all coming out. Now, the Discovery Institute, back as I started to say, back in 2006, put out a DVD, and I just can't remember what it's called, but it's something like The Mystery of Life, something like that. And they were sending it around, and essentially these were arguments that biological systems are so complex, they must have been designed because they work. They're all interconnected. They, function together. And I can remember the Biology Teachers Association of Australia, who want to teach evolutionary theory, that all this stuff evolved by random chance mutations and natural selection of the best fit. They said that they recommended not showing this movie, this video back then. And that resulted in a lot of discussion around there, but a lot of scientists took it up, and that's what the film is about. It's a documentary about scientists who began publishing papers with looking at evidence for intelligent design, mentioning intelligent design as a possibility, and how once they did that, they were closed down. They lost their grants, they lost their jobs. positions, this
So
sort
they
of
were
thing. They're made redundant,
effectively
sort of thing.
persecuted, which is very interesting because when you're thinking about scientific method, one of the lines of inquiry is that, okay, you have to come up and have to try to find out what are possible causes, what are possible evidences or possible theories that can explain something. And what is interesting is that normally every idea or every rational or logic possibility is tolerated, is accepted, is even encouraged to be investigated. But for some reason, the only one who is out of bounds is that God has designed everything. Just don't go there. And the reason being is like, why? Well, just because we don't want to. Because there's nothing logically wrong with the problem to believe that there is a designer behind an intelligent form design. Why do you think is that there is that prejudice in academia, particularly if one of their values is to be all inclusive, open-minded, explore all possibilities? Why all possibilities but God?
Well, this is a particular position that they don't want. They don't want faith in the science classes. So I think it's scientism. So of course, scientism is that everything can be explained by natural mechanisms and logic. So that's scientism. Scientism excludes any other way of knowing, for example, revelation and these sort of things. Also excludes the possibility of God. So, but that's a faith system. But unfortunately, scientism dominates. So it's not science, it's scientism. So what is happening is we have these, the institutes of the university where it actually becomes quite political, and you have people that very much want to keep God and faith out of the science classroom. And I think they saw that intelligent design is getting very close to creationism, belief, there's a creator God.
What's the difference, by the way,
interesting
between intelligent design and creationism? Sorry.
Okay, well, creationism essentially says that there is this supreme being that, and usually if you look at the three main religions, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, that believe in the Abrahamic creator God, then this is a supernatural event by creator God. Intelligent design allows for some intelligent influence. So, for example, what's his name? Nader. I just can't think. He wrote the book Mind and the Cosmos. Essentially, some of the other views are that there could be some property of the universe that is intelligence, as opposed to the biblical creator God. It's very close. It gets a bit. Thomas Nagel put out a book called Mind and the Cosmos, and essentially he's an atheist philosopher, but he essentially says, hang on, the evidence for intelligent design is overwhelming. Therefore, there must be some sort of mind system as well, some sort of non-material property of the universe that we don't know about. So as Christians, we understand this as God. And the main revelation of this has been supernatural revelation that's recorded in the Bible, the miracles, God speaking to Moses, the different prophets, Isaiah and so forth, revealing the future through different prophecies that have come true, such as Daniel's prophecies and Isaiah's prophecies. And then, of course, in the revelation of God through Jesus Christ himself, through his resurrection and also his ascension that was publicly witnessed. And as a result of the witness, as a result of those disciples seeing Jesus ascend into the cloud with the angels, that empowered them to go out with this message. God has come and visited us. And that's very hard to replicate. You can't replicate an ascension very easily.
Yeah.
And so this is powerful evidence that those people, and it wasn't just, a couple of people, there was a group of them, and those people gave their lives to spread that message that God is real, there's a purpose in life, we have a destiny. And that's a very important message to get out there. So what we have is we have this disbelieving group of people that believe that this material existence is all there is. There's no judgment. Bad luck if you're born in poverty and have disease. Good luck if you're born in a wealthy family and have good health. And that's just the way it is. And unfortunately, again, as the movie points out, by interviewing some of these proponents of, or some of these opponents to intelligent design, and also interviews the proponents of intelligent design. And we need to understand that they're, super intelligent guys, tops in their field, David Belinsky, Stephen Myers, these John Lennox. These are people that all believe that the overwhelming evidence is in intelligent design. But the movie is quite good to watch. And I mean, they've looked at the facts, and then one of the criticisms that they get is that they've then drawn correlations with, oppressive regimes, communist regimes, Nazi regimes, these sort of things in the past that have persecuted people for their ideas, and essentially drawn parallels that this is what's happening in universities. Mm-hmm. But I actually experienced that myself. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so back in 2006, as I mentioned before, there was a lot of discussion of this. This DVD had been sent out to schools. Schools were told, don't show it to your students. There was debate in the literature, and there was an article published in Chemistry Australia, which is the journal of the Royal Australian Chemical Institute, pointing out, arguing against showing, these sort of videos of evidence for intelligent design, the amazing systems in human biology or in biological systems. And what one of the authors did was he said, well, look, if we allow schools to teach intelligent design, we'd have to allow them to teach alien abductions, flat earth theory, astrology, all this sort of thing. And I thought, this is so wrong. You're trying to discredit something that is very, very logical, has a lot of scientific basis, by associating it with things that are certainly very fringe, unproven, and so forth. And so I wrote in an article. It was called A Creationist View of the Intelligent Design Debate. It was published in the April edition of Chemistry Australia. A feature article. It was peer-reviewed. Now, as soon as that came out, 3 academics in Australia wrote to the Royal Australian Chemical Institute, and they said, Professor Ashton's used made-up arguments. He's used arguments that have been debunked, essentially called me a liar. And they said this is endangering the reputation of the Royal Australian Chemical Institute. So the Royal Australian Chemical Institute held an emergency executive meeting. They withdrew my article from the online electronic copy. They couldn't withdraw it from the hard copies that have been sent out to libraries. So when you went online, there was just this page gap. And as I said, it had been published actually as a feature article. I included all my sources, my references as well. So I thought, well, if I'm wrong, I will contact these people. So I attempted to ring the professor. There was one at the University of New South Wales, one at the University of Sydney, and one at the University of New England. I didn't get through to the guys at Sydney UNSW, but I got through to the guy at the University of New England. And I can still remember the conversation. He answered the phone and said, hello, my name's John Ashton. I understand you're not happy with my article in Chemistry Australia. What's the evidence that you have that I'm wrong? And he backed off straight away, and I can still remember him saying, well, we don't have the evidence yet, but we will.
Wow.
So essentially they'd made assertions. You see, they hadn't put up any data to back their claims. They had just made assertions. Same sort of thing, Weinberg, when he published his article, or authorised the publication of Stephen Myers' article on the cell in one of the journals of biology there, which was published by the Smithsonian. Well, Weinberg lost his job as editor then, even though, he had doctorates and well published
Wow.
in this field, and of course Stephen Meyer as well. So this is what was happening.
Dr. John, this is really a shocking story to hear, and even to hear that it happened here in Australia and with you. But look, thank you so much for bringing that documentary. I think that's definitely one worthwhile watching. If you'd like to get the details about it, just let us know.
Encourage people to watch it. Expelled.
Absolutely.
No intelligence allowed.
No intelligence allowed. Dr. John, thank you so much for joining us this morning and for sharing with us some of your experiences, and also the this great documentary recommendation, Expelled, No Intelligence Allowed. There's certainly a lot of very interesting information there.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.